from Flow Motion Studios, live in New York City. It's the first ever virtual Yom Yerushalayim celebration, commemorating 55 years since the reunification of Jerusalem, honoring the liberators of the Kotel and Temple Mount. Musical performances by Shai Abramson, Mordechai Salem, Issachar Dror, and Meir Rosinger. Musical director Rafi Grady. Please join us now to make an historic contribution to Jerusalem-based nonprofits who have dedicated their life's work toward creating a strong, sustainable, and united future. History is in the making. Make it yours. And now, please welcome Dana Arshin and Yishai Fleischer.
All right, folks, Yishai Fleischer here. Shalom, and welcome to Jerusalem 55, and happy Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day. We are celebrating today. We're celebrating 55 years since reunification of Jerusalem, the victory of the Six-Day War, and we are just excited. And not only are we celebrating, but we're pushing it out to the world. We're making it international. Now, this is live broadcast happening from Brooklyn. That's right. Usually I'm in Israel. I'm a show host and broadcaster out of Israel. But I'm here today in Brooklyn because we're connecting Jerusalem to the world. I would be with my family, but instead I am here with you. We have an amazing lineup and a program for you, including 30 organizations that are making Jerusalem strong today. So not only are we going to celebrate the past, but today we're going to link up with building Jerusalem to the future, okay? So today is an opportunity for you to learn about Jerusalem, connect it, but also support the organizations that are making Jerusalem alive today and to the future. We have musical acts, beautiful music that's going to come today. It's going to stir our souls. We have great interviews, including Ambassador David Friedman and other high-level guests who talk about moving the embassy to Jerusalem, fighting for Jerusalem, the history of Jerusalem, and the future of Jerusalem. We have an amazing movie about the paratroopers. I myself was an Israeli paratrooper. And we'll see our unit's great pride, which is the liberation of the old city. And also, we have a little thing to sweeten the deal, and that is a raffle that is going to give you an opportunity to get to win two tickets to Israel. You and a loved one can just go and have an amazing trip. Now, for anybody making a donation of $55 or more to Jerusalem55.org, your investment in Israel and in Jerusalem makes us stronger towards the future, makes it sustainable, makes us win, and also gets you into that raffle. So this is indeed a live broadcast. I got to remind you about that. So if there's technical difficulties, stay with us. We got a great team in the studio. We got Bracha and Guy in the control room, and I'm here as well with you. We got just a great lineup. But the most important thing is to open your heart for Jerusalem. That's what today is about. Yerushalayim. Just say that word and be wowed by that word. I give you permission to be wowed today. Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. Now, I'm not alone here, so please say hello to my co-host and two-time Emmy Award-winning Fox 5 News journalist, Dana Arshin.
Thank you so much, Yishai, and a big thanks to the viewers joining us from all over the world to support Jerusalem. Now we're about to hear a very special song. Joining us is Meir Rosinger, a young talent who will be singing with Shai Abramson, who's the IDF chief cantor and the representative cantor for the state of Israel. Together, they'll sing a duet called If I Forget Thee, Jerusalem.
אם אשכחך אם אשכחך ירושלים תשכח ימיני תדבק לשוני יוי לרחיקי אם לא אזכרכי
Thank you so much, Shai and Meir, for this beautiful song. It was incredible to hear it. Now, for anyone making a donation to Jerusalem 55, your investment ensures a stronger, safer, and sustainable future for Israel. One of the most honored traditions for Jews all around the world is the blowing of the shofar on Yom Kippur. In Jerusalem, during the British Mandate, Jews were not allowed to do so by the Kotel, but a small group of people decided this prohibition had to be broken. Joining our event is the president of the Menachem Begin Heritage Center, General Director, Mr. Hertzog. Hello, Mr. Makov, and thank you so much for joining us. So you're in Jerusalem right now. This story is absolutely incredible. Can you tell us about these brave Jews who decided to blow the shofar?
Good evening and shalom from Jerusalem. It's one of the most inspiring stories about the dedication of Jews to Jerusalem and to the Western Wall, to our Kotel. in 1921, the British administration of the Mandate of Palestine decided that Jews are not allowed to practice any religious act besides praying in standing, not to have bench, not to have chairs, and of course not to blow the shofar near the Kotel. And among the young Jews at that time who belonged to the youth movement Beitar and to the underground, the Irgun, Etzel, who fought the British later on, they decided that they cannot accept the fact that the British didn't allow them to blow the shofar at the end of the feast, at the evening, in the most crucial and moving moment of the holy day. So a year after year, for 26 years, until 47, they hide a shofar, sneak it into the square of the Kotel, and blow the shofar again and again. And year after year, some of them were arrested and put in jail because of that. They didn't give up. They had to be innovative because the British was looking. They expect the Jews, they knew the tradition. So they have to sneak, to go over the checkpoints of the British soldiers. They used to give it from one another. They used to give it to young ladies who came and the British didn't look on them. And the shofar, sometimes 2 or 3 shofars went into the Kotel, and never they missed the tkiah, the big blow of the shofar at the end of the event. Because to Jews, Jerusalem is the heart of the people, the heart of the nation. And we cannot let the heart stop beating. So for 26 years, this tradition kept on until May 48, when the Jordanian Legion took over Jerusalem, the east side of Jerusalem, the old city. And for 19 years, we weren't able to go to the Kotel at all, until the miraculous war of 67, when the city was liberated and united, as we sure, forever.
Wow, that's incredible. And we just have a very, very short time left. So I want to ask you, what do you think this group of brave Jews, what message did they send to the future generations of Jewish people across the globe?
They and we are all, just a link in a long chain of generation that has a commitment to the future of the Jewish people. And we are not going to break this link. Nevertheless, what other would try to do to us, if they will try to disconnect us from Jerusalem, if they will try to disconnect us from our tradition, we will overcome. We will find a way to keep and to continue the link to the land of Israel and to Jerusalem in its heart.
Incredible. Thank you so much. You're so knowledgeable, and thank you for the important role that you are doing in Jerusalem. It was an honor to speak to you, Mr. Makov, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much, and I want to wish you and everybody happy Yom Yerushalayim. Yom Yerushalayim Sameach from Jerusalem.
Thank you so much. Same to you.
בעיר העתיקה של ירושלים שמאז כל הדורות חותמים עליה ושואפים אליה. לנוע אל השער. מחדר סיום תהיה על הרחבה למעלה. עד כאן המקום. הר הבית בידינו, כאן תלמיד, הר הבית בידינו. אינני אדם דתי, מעולם לא הייתי. ואני נוגע באבני הכותל המערבי. מנחם ציון ובונה ירושלים.
All right, so we had the story of Israel. We're celebrating Jerusalem today, but it's a long journey. It's a long journey. 1917, the Balfour Declaration, the idea of a Jewish state is already written up by the British government. 1923, the British get a mandate for Palestine after, of course, the victory over the Ottoman Empire in World War I. So the British start to rule, and they rule for 25 years. At the end of that time, they decide to leave. At the same time, the United Nations General Assembly votes for partition. The Arabs prepare to mount giant wars, and Ben-Gurion, against all odds and against all advice, goes on to declare the independence of the State of Israel the first time in 2,000 years.
זוהי זכותו הטבעית של העם היהודי להיות ככל עם ועם עומד ברשות עצמו במדינתו הריבונית אשר תפתח לרווחה את שערי המולדת לכל יהודי ותעניק לעם היהודי מעמד של אומה שוות זכויות בתוך העמים. לפיכך נתכנסנו אנו חברי מועצת העם, נציגי היישוב העברי והתנועה הציונית, ביום סיום המנדט הבריטי על ארץ ישראל. ותוקף זכותנו הטבעית וההיסטורית ועל יסוד החלטת עצרת האומות המאוחדות אנו מכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל, היא מדינת ישראל.
So that was Friday afternoon that the State of Israel was declared. The next day, a war begins, and that war lasted for a year. That's the War of Independence, the 1948 War of Independence. And we win that war, right? We win it, but we also lose a large chunk of land in that war, including all of Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem. Jerusalem is cut in half in that war. Well, the State of Israel survives, and it goes through 1948, through that war, onto the 56 Sinai campaign, and then Arab armies once again amass and call to destroy Israel. The Syrians and the Egyptians team up, and they say, we're going to throw Israel to the sea. We're going to finish the work of the Holocaust. There's a dread in Israel. There's a fear in Israel, and Israel prepares to face the onslaught. But suddenly, something else happens. That's the beginning of the Six-Day War, the war where Israel strikes first, and we have the miracle of victory in 6 days. Dr. Michael Oren is an American-born Israeli historian, author, a politician, former ambassador to the United States from Israel, and a former member of Knesset and a former deputy minister at the Prime Minister's office. Dr. Michael Oren, we are joining you. Thank you for joining us today, and we're joining you in the Hilton in Tel Aviv. Thank you very much for being with us. You've played a lot of roles, but one of the roles that you've played that has to have something to do with Jerusalem Day is your book about the Six-Day War. Tell me about the 6-Day War. Was taking Jerusalem and the Old City like prepared from the get-go? Was that an eventuality that was for sure, or did it come about in a kind of surprise fashion?
Always an honor and a pleasure to be with you, Shai. And the answer is absolutely, categorically no. The battle for Jerusalem was completely unanticipated, unplanned for. The paratroopers who eventually liberated the city, who reached the western wall of the Kotel, were supposed to parachute into Sinai. They were ordered on buses, brought to Jerusalem without maps, without without sufficient weaponry to take the old city. Most of them were kibbutzniks who had never been in Jerusalem, didn't know their way around the city. Completely unanticipated. And in fact, the Israeli government had repeatedly begged the Jordanian government of King Hussein not to get involved in the war, up to almost the moment that the paratroopers entered the old city of Jerusalem. The Israeli government was communicating to King Hussein of Jordan, if you accept the ceasefire, if you agree to enter into peace talks with us, our paratroopers will not take the old city.
Okay, but it didn't go that way, did it? He didn't accept the peace talks. He didn't accept the idea of staying out of the war, and indeed he was shelling the Israeli positions, and they were forced in. Was it the hand of God? Was it nationalist Knesset members? Who pulled the trigger on taking Jerusalem?
In fact, it was very strange. In the Israeli government at the time, there was a religious party, Mafdal, which back then was a left of center party, and Mafdal opposed taking the old city, opposed reaching the Kotel, for the simple reason that they thought that if Jews liberated the holy sites of Jerusalem, that the world would never condone it and would force the Jews to relinquish the holy sites. And the people in the Mafdal believed that the Jewish people couldn't sustain that type of pain. Mm-hmm. Interesting. They opposed it to the very last minute. Mm. So here, Shai, I have to distinguish between myself as an historian and distinguish myself as an Israeli, as a person who believes. I do believe that Jerusalem Day has a religious significance, that it didn't happen just as an accident of history. But, as an historian, I could trace the events which led up to it. The fact that King Hussein feared that going against the Arab reaction, the Arab mood in the street at the time would be fatal for him, and it may well have been, that he had no choice. He had placed his entire military under Egyptian command. And it's interesting, while the 6-Day War began with Israeli Air Force attacking the Egyptian Air Force, Jordanian ground forces attacked Jerusalem first. Attacked Jerusalem and its southern ridge, what is known as Governor's House Ridge, Armon Netziv, and began to move advanced tanks toward Mount Scopus and surround the city. So Israel really had no choice but to defend itself against Jordanian aggression in 1967. Again, Israel begged King Hussein to stay out of it. He did not. Perhaps he had no choice, but he did not. So, that led not only to the liberation of Jerusalem, but to the liberation of Judea and Samaria as well.
So we spoke to you as a religious person. We spoke to you as a historian, but now as an ambassador. You were ambassador to the U.S. Did you get people to celebrate Jerusalem Day? Do you think that Jerusalem Day is something that the world should celebrate as an international thing, or is it just our Cosa Nostra, the thing for the Jews?
No, I think it should be celebrated by anybody who values Jewish history, who values Jewish faith and tradition, who values the state of Israel. During my time in Washington, that was not the case. The administration to which I represented Israel, which believed in the redivision of the city, that part of the city would become the capital of a Palestinian state. And I did not have the easiest time. I would go into the State Department, into the White House, and say that the American policy at the time was inapplicable and, in fact, prejudicial, if not anti-Semitic. And I say that very guardedly. I'll explain why. It was inapplicable because no government of a Jewish state so constituted as a Jewish state could prevent Jews from living in their own capital. Prevent Jews from living in their capital, not just the state of Israel, but their capital for 3,000 years. What Jewish state could do that? And yet, in a situation under American policy, a Jew in Jerusalem could only live in certain neighborhoods. And by the way, over half the Jewish population lived in neighborhoods beyond that. The Jew could only live in certain neighborhoods. And an Arab could live in any neighborhood. And if the Israeli government wreck down an illegal Arab settlement structure, we would be accused by that administration of illegally demolishing an Arab structure. And so that was inapplicable. That just couldn't happen. But why anti-Semitic? Ishai, if the American government said that Jews in New York could only live in certain neighborhoods, or Jews in Chicago could only live in certain neighborhoods, that would be anti-Semitic.
Right.
And yet the administration was saying this about our capital for 4,000 years, okay? Our capital for 3,000 years. So, that was anti-Semitic. And it was a great day, the day that policy was overturned and the United States recognized United Jerusalem as our capital.
Thank you for waging that battle. And thank you for all that you do for Jerusalem. Your book about the 1967 Six-Day War is an incredible book. And please keep pumping out the light of Jerusalem. And I want to wish you a bracha from Brooklyn to Tel Aviv about Jerusalem. Happy Yom Yerushalayim.
Everywhere. Yom Yerushalayim Sameach.
Toda, Ambassador Dr. Michael Oren. Thank you. All right, so today, Jerusalem55.org is an awesome opportunity to support building Jerusalem, right? So we're getting information. We just heard from Ambassador Michael Oren, great book, by the way, Ally. He's an amazing person. But you heard information about it. You're like, oh, Jerusalem, yes. But now we got to actually build Jerusalem together. Today on Jerusalem55.org, we have amazing organizations. We have everything from like people who are rescuing food in Jerusalem, from like hotels that are food that's being discarded and giving it to the needy, to people who are helping animals and creating animal shelters for lost animals, to people who are making sure that Jews have rights on the Temple Mount, to making sure that soldiers, lone soldiers are fed. So we have so many different organizations. So you just go to Jerusalem55.org and you got to get up out of your chair and be wowed by Jerusalem and say, I am being part of it today. I am strengthening Jerusalem today. That's what I'm going to do today with my life. And I'm going to go to sleep at night knowing that I help build Jerusalem. I'm a builder of Jerusalem. You got to have that tag on yourself. You got to wear that button that says, I am a builder of Jerusalem. And that's, of course, the greatest gift from God, that we live in a time where we can build Jerusalem. Throughout generations, the Jewish people have prayed. That's what we do. That's part of the thing that we do, is we pray. We pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We also pray for the safety of our soldiers. On the one hand, we want them to be aggressive. We want them to be tough. We want them to push back on the haters and defend Israel and defend the Jewish state. At the same time, we want them to come home to their husbands and wives, to their mothers and fathers, to their children, and continue to have that strength. So we have a prayer called the Mishaberach prayer, and we've said that prayer throughout the generations. Let's hear the great Shai Abramson, the IDF chief cantor, with this important prayer, and let us all say together, Amen.
העומדים על משמר ארצנו בהרי אלוהינו מן הלבנון ועד מדבר מצרים ומן הים הגדול עד לבוא הערבה ביבשה באוויר הגנה לישראל, הוא יברך את חיילי צבא הגנה לישראל, הוא יברך את חיילי צבא הגנה לישראל. ייתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו ניגפים לפניהם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם, ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם ויעטרם בכתר ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון, ויקוים בהם הכתוב כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם לכם עם אויביכם, להושיע אתכם ונאמר
Shai. That was incredibly beautiful and heartfelt. Today we honor the people who fought and gave their lives to liberate the Kotel during the Six-Day War. As a tribute to their efforts, Flow Motion created this special short film with interviews from Colonel Yoram Zamush and his paratroopers about their experiences.
To Jerusalem with love.
אזרחי ישראל, מאז שעות הבוקר משיבים כוחותינו ביבשה ובאוויר מלחמה שערה במטרה להביס את צבאותיו של השליט המצרי התוקפן. נוסף על ההסכם שבינו לבין סוריה, כרת שליט מצרים בעצם ימים אלה הסכמים צבאיים עם ירדן, עיראק וכווית.
We heard in the radio that the Jordanian Legion decided, Hussein, the king, decided to get involved in the war. We all were informed that we are going to fight in Jerusalem, and I have the feeling that we are going to take part in the most important battle of the Jewish nation, to break into the old city, to liberate the Holy Mountain and the Kotel Ma'aravi. We, the commanders, get to the western part of Jerusalem, the city under heavy fire. All people are in shelters, in darkness, absolutely darkness. We went down to a shelter of one family, talking about we are going to break into the old city. The old lady went out, and after half an hour, she came back and gave me a flag. That's our flag from the old city. Me and my husband, we lived there, and I put it in your pouch. And then with tears, with very sweat tears on my back. Up to now, I feel it. She told us, you will reach the Kotel Ma'aravi. You will hang this little flag on the Kotel Ma'aravi. God will help you. God will bring you in peace. You have to know that all the Jewish nation pushing you in the fingertop And then she changed, not all the Jewish people, all the generation of the Jewish people. And with tears, she gave us really the feeling that all the Jewish generation are pushing us. Then, exactly on 2 at night, suddenly into the darkness, 2 giant projects light up suddenly into the eyes of the Jordanian and began the orchestra of our tanks, machine guns, artillery, and suddenly all the area was with fire, with heavy fire, and we began to run into the neighborhood.
מפקדי הגדודים, אנחנו יושבים על הרכס שצופה אל העיר העתיקה, ועוד מעט אנחנו עומדים להיכנס אליה. העיר העתיקה של ירושלים, שמאז כל הדורות חולמים עליה ושואפים אליה. אנחנו נהיה הראשונים להיכנס אליה.
We had found quite old Arabic of the Waqf, and he gave us a key, very big key, to open the Mughrabi gate, and he told Rafi Malka, 19 years, we were sure, I was sure you will come back. I was sure. Here is a key for the Kotel El Yahud.
I remember the moment after we opened the door with the huge key. One of our team shouted, "Here is the Kotel." It was my first encounter with the Western Wall. I was very, very excited. It stood there on the right in its glory.
And Stempel, my second in command of the brigade, told us to climb up to hang the flag on top of the Wailing Wall. Stempel ordered me to write on the flag of Israel is hanging now today, Kefchet Iyar, 7 of June 1967, on the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem by the 55 Brigade, the brigade who conquered Jerusalem. And then he changed me, change it, liberate Jerusalem. And then hang with tears the little flag on the iron grid, and we were stand in a line to thank Hatikva.
Moshe Stempel, the brigade deputy, he asked me to give him my microphone, and he addressed to Motagur, he said, pupil,
הר הבית בידינו, כאן תלמיד, הר הבית בידינו. כל הכבוד.
The Wailing Wall is in my hand, and the Israeli flag was hoisted. His voice was shaken. It still echoes in my ears.
We were absolutely tears. Each of us has his thought, has his connection to his parents, his grandparents, his history. Immediately after that, he took me aside and with tears told me, Zamosh, if my grandfather had any chance to know that I will be here, paratroopers, with red shoes, with Uzi, here on the Kotel Maravi in Jerusalem, they would be happy to give their life 1,000 times, only to know that some day it will happen in the future. It was unbelievable. We will never leave this place. We will never give it up.
I remember Uzi Elam, he sent to bring the military chief rabbi, Shlomo Goren, to the Western Wall. He came with the Bible in his hand and a shofar was hanging on his neck, and he prayed Shehecheyanu. And then he tried to blow the shofar, but he was so emotional he could not blow the shofar. Then Uzi Elam said to him, "Rabbi, please give me the shofar. I played trumpet in the orchestra of my kibbutz." And the rabbi gave him the shofar, and Uzi blew the shofar, and he succeeded. Nobody at that time knew that we occupied the old city. And because there was no news about it, and when we reached the top of the walls, suddenly all the soldiers started to sing the most famous song, new song, Jerusalem of Gold. And suddenly we saw from the Jewish side near the Wailing Wall thousands of people looking to us, astonished, understand that Jerusalem is in our hand. Finally, after so many years of suffering, of shooting and shelling, suddenly about 3 or 4 started to run towards the fence, and they throw to our package, and inside was an Israeli flag, and that was the second flag that we put on one of the positions in the west across the Jewish environment.
What an amazing story to be able to fly the flag of Israel over the old city of Jerusalem, the old city that was in Jordanian hands for 19 years. Jewish people had not flown a flag there maybe in 2,000 years, and yet that moment came in Jerusalem Day 55 years ago. Colonel Yoram Zamush was the commanding officer of the paratroopers who went into the old city. He unfurled that flag. He is with us today from Jerusalem. Yoram, thank you so much for joining us.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom to you, sir. And first thing, thank you so much for your service, for your brave service, for opening that flag. And also, happy birthday to you. Today is your 80th birthday. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yom Yerushalayim. It's my 80 anniversary. And all over my friends, my soldiers, my commanders, we are celebrating this event.
And you're celebrating it in Jerusalem, the city that you love, the city that you help liberate, and the city that you even paint today. Tell me about those amazing moments on June 6th, 1967.
I was one of about 1,000 soldiers. I want to say it's not me, and it's not me myself, of course. We all together And the main feeling, the main important say that I have to tell again and again, we had the feeling that we are on the fingertop of the Jewish nation, of the whole generation of the Jewish nation. That was and that is exist our feeling of that unique moment.
You know, for you, not only did you get a chance to unfurl that flag, but that was your birthday back then 55 years ago, but that was also the day that your family, part of your family, was murdered in the Holocaust that day that you were born. What an amazing connection of three things: your birthday, your family, and the resurrection of Yerushalayim.
It was, of course, that moment, but it took years to put in my head everything together, all this heavy weight to connect it for myself. But in that moment, on the top of the Wailing Wall, my commander, Stempel, had told us exactly this point. He remember his family, his grandfather, his grandfather, and say it's not the account of us with the Jordanian soldiers, with the legionnaire. It's our account with the legionnaires of the Roman soldiers of Titus 2,000 years ago. That was the feeling. We are here on the way of the old Jewish nation.
So
and it was a very important step and very important moment. That's the way.
So beating back the legionnaires, the Roman legionnaires of Titus from 2,000 years ago, and defeating them today.
Later,
amazing.
Only years later, my family, had learned that in that day exactly when I was born in the kibbutz, in the little kibbutz, in the new kibbutz, Yavne, the same day, the whole family of my father, 19 persons from Berlin, were killed exactly on that day. Wow. The 7th of June, 42, were killed in one gas truck in Chelmno.
That's an incredible.
Of course,
it's an incredible coincidence. All this
very
together.
Unique circle.
Yeah, that's amazing stuff. But you didn't. That's not enough. Not only were you born, not only did you grow up in Israel, become a lieutenant colonel, and liberate the old city and wave that flag, but you continue to share it through your paintings and through your artwork and through your speeches. Tell me a little bit about why you continue to live that moment through your art.
I began to paint only a few years ago. Of course, it's my stories. It's my life. It's the story of my life, and that's battle. That's moment. That's experience is, of course, in the center of my life. Anyhow, and in my paint, I try to express it somehow.
Well, I want to tell you, Yoram, Lieutenant Commander Yoram Zamush, not only have you expressed it in paintings, but you've expressed it in a heroic life. And we want to all bless you to have a continued long life till 120. And thank you so much for your great part in this happiest of Jewish holidays, Jerusalem Day, Yom Yerushalayim. God bless you, Ad 120 until 120. And thank you for being a fighter and now a painter and a lover of Yerushalayim.
העיר העתיקה של ירושלים, שמאז כל הדורות חותמים עליה ושואפים אליה. לנוע אל השער. מסדר הסיום יהיה על הרחבה למעלה. עד כאן עבור. הר הבית בידינו, כאן תלמיד, הר הבית בידינו. אינני אדם דתי, מעולם לא הייתי. אני נוגע באבני הכותל המערבי. ברוך אתה אדוני מנחם ציון ובונה ירושלים.
So that was awesome. And you know, when I watch those images of the paratroopers, I get filled up with tears and emotions. First thing because of the liberation of Jerusalem, but also because I myself was a paratrooper in the 202nd Brigade and later in the Special Forces of the paratroopers. So it's something very personal to me, and our unit has a lot of pride in it. Now, when I was a soldier 20 years ago, I was a lone soldier. My parents were not living in Israel. I was by myself. And we had a special designation called lone soldiers, right? But back then, there wasn't an organization that was going to help us out and help us with the laundry and help us deal with the logistics and with the physical stuff or with the spiritual stuff, right? Because there's that as well when you're in the army and you're under different forces and pressures. Today, there are organizations like that, and today on Jerusalem55.org, we have organizations that defend the defenders, that help the soldiers physically, materially, and spiritually as well. So I want you to go to Jerusalem55.org. We're at $225,000 aggregate, which is amazing. That's $225,000 of your hard-earned work, your sweat of your brow, and you're sending it to build Jerusalem. But don't give up there. Don't be like, okay, somebody else is doing it, I don't need to do it. Get up out of that chair, get that credit card out, and give to Yerushalayim. Build Yerushalayim with that credit card. And help these organizations, the over 30 organizations that are part of this conglomeration called Jerusalem55.org, who are really making Jerusalem, they're building Jerusalem, they're strengthening those soldiers, they're strengthening the young brides, they're strengthening the lost animals, they're strengthening hospitals that make sure that people are healthy. We're moving the project forward, and you are part of that project. If you want to be part of the project of Yerushalayim on Jerusalem Day, Jerusalem55.org. Now, there was a moment in the history of Israel where people were freaking out. Right before the Six-Day War, before Jerusalem Day, it didn't look like there was going to be a Jerusalem Day at all. It looked more like there was going to be disaster. In fact, some of the parks in Jerusalem, in Western Jerusalem, the Jerusalem that we held in our hands before the Six-Day War, they were digging graves in those parks because they thought we're really not going to survive too much this massive conglomerated onslaught against us. But there was one man, one rabbi, one spiritual leader, and he was not in Jerusalem. He was in Brooklyn, New York, not very far away, not far away at all from these studios right now. That was the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe of Chabad. And he gave a completely different signal to the Jewish people and to the world. We have with us today Rabbi Simon Jacobson, who is the author of Towards a Meaningful Life, and also is the founder of the Meaningful Life Center. What a great name, the Meaningful Life Center, and publisher of the weekly, the Allgemeiner Journal. Rabbi Simon Jacobson, thank you so much for being with us.
It's an honor and pleasure. What a day.
You know, I wanted in my heart to also bring this side. You know, we talk about the soldiers and we talk about the physical battle. But as you were telling me beforehand, for every physical battle, there's also a spiritual battle. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe was pushing for a spiritual battle. You were a young man at the time, but you were close to the Rebbe and even wrote all of his Shabbat lectures down and passed it on afterwards. Tell me about those heady days and what was the distinction that the Lubavitcher Rebbe made, the difference that his leadership gave at the time?
So I was really a child then. I wasn't writing yet, just for the record.
Okay.
But I remember the euphoria and I remember the whole mood. And of course, as you just said, people were anticipating the worst. So the Rebbe already on Lag BaOmer, which is a few weeks before the war, began talking that the situation in Israel, some people think it's dire, but we have promises. We've been here. We have God on our side. It was actually 2 days before the war began, which was June 5th. On June 3rd was Shabbat. It was a Shabbat when we blessed the month of Sivan, the month of Shavuot, of the holiday. And the Rebbe spoke about war. And he said that for every physical war, there's also the spiritual side of a war, which is even everyone understands. It's not just weapons and ammunition. You also need morale. You need values. You need to believe in what you're fighting for. And he said that in the spiritual war, we want God on our side, because then the war is fought very differently, and one that can be without casualties, and that one that can be more preventive and preemptive rather than having to deal with true bloodshed and all the losses that come with it. And he said, for us to be able to prepare for a spiritual war, we have to make a keli, which means a container, a channel.
A vessel.
A vessel. And he said the vessel, the Talmud tells us what it is tefillin. He says among all the mitzvahs, tefillin is spelled out. And when a person puts on tefillin.
We're talking about prayer boxes.
The prayer boxes,
on the hand,
phylacteries.
across the heart, and the one on the head. That's right. You've seen
every male boy after 13 bar mitzvah puts that on. So the Talmud, he cited two Talmud. One Talmud that says that when you put on tefillin, it guarantees you a long, healthy life.
Okay.
Many long years. And then the second one, he said, even stronger, is that when the enemy, it says, will see the name of God on you, they will be afraid and they will flee. So he said, practically speaking, let's make a global campaign that all Israeli soldiers putting on tefillin, that will complement the physical war, the spiritual war, and that will prevent all the disasters that can come out of wars. And he was like absolutely confident that miracles will happen. He said it, miracles will happen. And then, of course, you know what happened. 2 days later, the war broke out. 6 days later, it was over.
I've seen some of the newspaper clippings from that time. There were people who were fleeing Israel. And there were rabbis who were telling some of the people in their flock, if you have a place to go to America, go to America. But Lubavitcher Rebbe distinguished himself by saying to people, don't be afraid, go to Israel or don't leave Israel. There's nothing to be afraid of. This is going to be a victory for the Jews. And that was like a boon, a spiritual boon for so many people who were just like...
I actually heard from a student who was in Jerusalem. And everyone was fleeing, as you said. And he wrote to the Rebbe said, stay. And he was in Torah Semes, the yeshiva, the Chabad yeshiva in Jerusalem. And he actually was hiding under a table and when bullets were whizzing. But he stayed. And then none of them were affected, of course. On the contrary, Jerusalem was conquered. So this requires, it wasn't, I mean, some people may see it as being like, it's not super rational, let's put it that way. But the truth is, let's be honest, the Jewish people are not bound to statistics. We are here not just because we were smart and we had powerful weapons, and we also had strength from above. And the Rebbe really wanted to bring that into the picture. And the fact of the matter is, he even actually brought an example from medicine, that when you feel confidence, it builds your immune system. So the same thing in war, it's not just, you can have the biggest army. Look at America and Vietnam. And if you don't have the willpower and you don't have the spirit, and of course Israelis and the IDF and the soldiers had the spirit, and the tefillin was part of their weapons. Many will swear by it. They'll say it was clearly a weapon, part of our arsenal.
Fearlessness.
And that launched a massive tefillin campaign. Hundreds of thousands of people began putting on tefillin, continued putting on tefillin until this day. Probably millions and millions of people just in Israel have put on tefillin, and it does have that additional element of protection.
So the 6 Day War was also the beginnings of this campaign to get Jewish people back to Judaism. And of course, people like my parents in the Soviet Union, hearing on shortwave radio about the great victory. And like tefillin, it came over to them like, wow, the Jewish people are strong again. We can win again. And that helped the next campaign, which is to help free Soviet Jewry.
Yeah, and Time magazine, by the way, ran then a picture of Bob Dylan at the wall putting on tefillin, which of course added to the whole momentum and the euphoria. I mean, it's hard to describe what it was like. You know, I wish we could still hold on to that pride, and 55 years later, it's a time to reignite that effort. The Rebbe also said then that this is a tremendous wake-up call.
Right.
He called it a shofar gadol, the call of the shofar, a call of a great shofar that will wake up hearts and souls. And it did. In America, it created a tremendous change in the climate and campuses and students. You know, Israel became a source of pride.
That's right.
Until then, it was not really on the map quite as much.
Right. And of course, that made you proud to be Jewish as well.
Yeah.
I guess that leads you towards a meaningful life. And that's exactly the book that you have written, Towards a Meaningful Life, and the Meaningful Life Center. I love that name a lot. You're also the publisher of The Allgemeiner. Rabbi Simon Jacobson, thank you so much for being with us.
It's my honor, and may we all celebrate and ultimately have the rebuilding of Jerusalem with the third temple.
Amen. And we have that spiritual awakening today on Yom Yerushalayim.
Absolutely.
You know, Jerusalem Day is a day of victory and success and the defeat of our enemies. And as the rabbi told us, really a lot of people were unaffected. It was a lot of miracles. But there were those that did die, fighters and pilots and other people who fought in the Six-Day War. I have friends and family who knew people who died in that war. And so today we also do a Yizkor prayer for them at Givat HaTachmoshet at Ammunition Hill. Let's go to that amazing prayer and memorial of the soldiers who did die in the Six-Day War.
אבוקת חטיבת הצנחנים 55. באנדרטה מאחורי מוזיאון רוקפלר, המנציחה את 20 חיילי יחידת החטיבה, נמצא מפקד חטיבת הצנחנים 55, אלוף משנה לירון ביטון, שיעביר את הלפיד לנחמיה זרחוביץ'. נחמיה זרחוביץ' שרת בצנחנים, לחם ונפצע בקרב בבית הספר לשוטרים. כתב עם עמיתו יוסי לנגוצקי את הספר בעקבות מסלולי קרבות מלחמת ששת הימים בירושלים. אבוקת חיל האוויר. באתר ההנצחה המרכזי של חיל האוויר, הר הטייסים בהרי ירושלים, נמצא מפקד הטייסת 102, סגן אלוף נון, שיעביר את הלפיד ליוסי הראל. יוסי הראל היה הטייס הצעיר ביותר במלחמת ששת הימים, המשיך לשרת בחיל האוויר והשתחרר בדרגת רב סרן. אבוקת פיקוד המרכז. כאן, בגבעת התחמושת, נמצא איתנו על הבמה אלוף פיקוד המרכז, יהודה פוקס, שיעביר את הלפיד למאיר מבורך. מאיר מבורך שרד את פרעות הפרהוד בעיראק, עלה לישראל בגיל 14, לחם כצנחן והמשיך לשרת במילואים קרביים עד גיל 60.
All right, so what an opportunity we have today. We saw the rabbi talking about that spiritual war. We talked about the memorial of the people that fell. We're really living within that consciousness of the Six-Day War. And we could sit back in our chairs and be like, those are heroes. No, that's not enough. Today, we are called to be heroes. We have that opportunity. If you go today to Jerusalem55.org, you're going to see a plethora of beautiful organizations. I'll just name a few that are there that are in my mind right now. One is the Temple Institute. Yeah, those guys go all the way. They make the vessels and the vestments of the temple. They make books about the temple and posters. And if you go to Jerusalem, to the Old City, and you go inside the square there, there's a golden menorah that's supposed to be in the temple. They made it. They made it out of gold. That's called the Temple Institute. That's one example. Another one is Hertzog Hospital. These guys are one of the biggest hospitals in Israel. They're in Jerusalem. They make Israel so much stronger when our people are healthy. Another organization is there to have returned sovereignty and the consciousness of sovereignty and the flag of Israel, as opposed to other flags that are trying to sneak in and take over our successes in the Six-Day War. And yet there's other things completely different, like, for example, Leket Israel, which are about saving some of the food that are being thrown out in hotels and in institutions and making sure that the needy get them. And there yet are others, like saving the pets and making sure that they have a shelter. If you care about the dogs in your hometown, don't you care about the dogs and cats in Jerusalem? Of course you do. So here's the point right now. The point is we're going to build the walls of Jerusalem. We're going to put a brick in. Okay? We're going to put a brick in, and you're going to do it with all of your heart, all of your might. And yeah, I want to tell you something. Your money is meaningful. You sweated for that. You worked for that. God blessed you for that. Now send some of those blessings to Jerusalem. Send some of those blessings to Jerusalem. Make Jerusalem stronger today. It's just, for you, it's $100, $200, $500, whatever it is, but it makes Israel so much stronger. That organization is like, I can't believe it. People are with us. Look at the list of the organizations. Support a lone soldier. I didn't have lone soldiers. Today's lone soldiers organizations. When I was a lone soldier, we didn't have an organization. Today, they're making those soldiers so much stronger and happier. They're barbecuing, and they have spiritual needs and physical needs. And all that is really an opportunity. Let's make Jerusalem Day a day where we get more educated and it comes into our heart. And also we say, great, that I mirror that with an effort to strengthen and build Jerusalem and make Jerusalem international. Tell the world, I'm building Yerushalayim. There's a lot of folks in the world out there, bad folks, who don't want us to build Jerusalem. They want to cut Jerusalem, destroy Jerusalem. They want us out of Jerusalem, all kinds of stuff. But we're telling the world, no, we are in Jerusalem. So wherever you are, if you're in Timbuktu or in Manhattan, wherever you are, strengthen Yerushalayim today. All right, the website is Jerusalem55.org. Let's check out an awesome campaign video.
If you'd like to take action and make an impact, you can do so right now by making a donation at Jerusalem55.org. Naomi Shermer was 37 when she wrote Jerusalem of Gold, just after Jerusalem's reunification following the Six-Day War. Today, it continues to be one of the most globally recognized songs about this ancient city.
I just want to say one thing. This is my first Yom Yerushalayim outside of Israel. I moved to New York 10 months ago. And I remember one time, it was 5 years ago, celebrating 50 years to Jerusalem. I was performing in the Kotel in front of 100,000 people and over 1 million people in Facebook Live. It was very, very emotional. After many years when I was a little kid, my parents used to tell me all those stories about the 6 Days War. And for me, standing there, playing in front of a lot of people near the Kotel was a very, very powerful experience and very emotional. And now I'm very, very honored to play here, celebrating 55 years for Jerusalem. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
אוויר הרים צלול קיי וריח אורני נישא ברוח ארבעים עם כל פעמוני ובתרדמת אילן ואבן שבויה בחלומה העיר אשר בדד יושבת ובליבה חומה ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושלו, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושלו, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור.
חזרנו אל בורות המים, לשוק ולכיכר, שופר קורא בהר הבית בעיר העתיקה, ובעמערות אשר בסלע אלפי שמשות זוכות, נשוב נרד אל ים המלח בדרך יריחו. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושלו, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושלו, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור. ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושלו, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור.
ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושלו, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור.
Okay, thank you Issachar Dror and Rafi Grady for that beautiful song, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. It's so meaningful, Jerusalem of gold. And Jerusalem is golden. Now, one of the golden people of Jerusalem is our deputy mayor. We have an amazing deputy mayor. Her name is Fleur Hassan-Nahum. She's my friend. She's the deputy mayor in charge of foreign relations. She's also in charge of international economic development and tourism. And through that, she's also grown into being the co-founder of the UAE Israel Business Council. She was born in London, grew up in Gibraltar. Today, she's the deputy mayor. Fleur Hassan, thank you so much for joining us from Aza Street in Jerusalem.
Yom Yerushalayim Sameach. It's so wonderful to be with you, Ishai.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And it's so great to see. I'm in Brooklyn right now celebrating Yom Yerushalayim, but I see Yerushalayim right behind you, places that I know and love. I see the signs. You're at actually a party for a pre-wedding party for tomorrow. That's beautiful. And you know what? There's a wedding that we're living in right now. That's the wedding of the Jewish people in Yerushalayim, the holy city of Jerusalem. We're back. Tell me about how you're feeling today. Tell me how today went for you. What's Jerusalem like on Jerusalem Day?
Well, it was amazing. We had events from the morning till the evening, and I have even more events after this. So basically, we started the morning with a festive Jerusalem Knesset Caucus inauguration at City Hall, where we had former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, leader of the opposition, come to City Hall, and many of his members of Knesset. And we launched this incredible caucus from the Knesset to help Jerusalem. From that, we went on to more festivities. And then we had the pleasure, the honor of receiving the Arizona governor, Doug Ducey. And after that, we had more events. And it's just been a wonderful day. But most importantly, Ishai, thank God. You know, I woke up this morning very excited about Yom Yerushalayim, but also with a knot in my stomach about how this day would turn out. Because last year, unfortunately, we have the trauma that we ended up with a rocket from Gaza here. But thank God thank you Hashem that this year it's been really quiet. I've only seen incredible young people with flags and singing and dancing and celebrating the reunification of our eternal capital. And it's only been positive and wonderful. And so thank God now I can stop breathing.
All right. So that's great. And I'm a little bit jealous, but I'm happy to be broadcasting here from Jerusalem55.org and bringing it to the nations, bringing it also to the Jewish people outside of the land of Israel. And that's a little problem that we have, is that Jerusalem Day is beautiful in Jerusalem. And I even saw some great parading in Tel Aviv and stuff. But outside of the land of Israel, it's not as well known. You're in charge of international relations for Jerusalem. Tell me a little bit about how we reach out to the world. Is that important? Is this just a Jerusalem holiday or a world global holiday, as we're trying to do here at Jerusalem55.org?
Well, you're 100% right. It should be a global holiday because you know what? Jerusalem is not just holy to us. It's also holy to Christians. And it's also holy to Muslims. So the fact that we're now a united city with freedom of worship for all is not a given. It wasn't like that before 1967. Jews and Christians could not go and pray in the holy sites when it was under Jordanian illegal occupation. And so the truth is that everybody should be celebrating with us. And I know there are many plans in many different international Jewish organizations to embrace the whole Jewish world into Yom Yerushalayim. And I'm helping them. I'm not sure it worked out everywhere this year. I know that more and more communities around the world are enjoying Yom Yerushalayim. I get asked to speak in many different communities around the world. So, Ishai, this is something you and I can work together. Let's make Yom Yerushalayim great again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I'm very honored also to be called into this production of Jerusalem55.org to bring all these Jerusalem-based organizations and to come together, pool our resources to push out Jerusalem Day to the world, and to also bring in support and help to grow Yerushalayim from all the way from animal shelters to lone soldiers to young brides, like organizations that are doing so many different things to help Jerusalem be stronger.
Let me tell you something which is incredible. And this really goes to the Mitzion Titzeh Torah, from Zion Torah will come out. We have in Jerusalem more NGOs per capita than anywhere in the world, which means that everybody in Jerusalem wants to fix something, wants to do better, wants to improve their surroundings and their society. And that's what makes Jerusalem special. We're all pioneers here. We're all trying to change the world for the better.
Well, you are trying to change the world for the better through being the deputy mayor of Jerusalem. What a position, what a dream job. And may God continue to succeed you in your holy work to make Jerusalem stronger, bigger, and better. And that, of course, affects Israel, and that affects the world. Fleur, Hassan, thank you so much for being with us, and God bless you. Chag Sameach. Chag Yom Yerushalayim.
Thank you, Ishai.
Shalom.
Chag Sameach.
Shlomo Ashkenazi is the representative of the Zionist executive for North America. He's one of the visionaries who brought Jerusalem Day to North America by coming together with Flow Motion, Olam Shalem, and Cause Match to make the Jerusalem55.org venture that's supporting 30 Jerusalem-based organizations a reality today. Take it away, Shlomi.
תודה דנה, תודה ישי. צופים וצופות יקרים, אחים ואחיות יהודי התפוצות. אנחנו חוגגים היום את יום שחרור ירושלים בפעם ה-55. לראשונה, אנחנו חוגגים ברובעם את יום ירושלים באירוע וירטואלי מפואר בארצות הברית בהשתתפות עשרות אלפים. כשהגעתי לפה לפני 10 חודשים הסתכלתי בלוח השנה הציוני ושמתי לב שיום ירושלים כמעט ולא נוכח באירועים הרשמיים של המוסדות הציוניים בארצות הברית. קיבלתי על עצמי החלטה שהשנה ההסתדרות הציונית העולמית תיזום אירוע משמעותי במטרה להתאחד סביב ירושלים האהובה ביום חגה. אני נרגש כנציג ההסתדרות הציונית העולמית בצפון אמריקה להתחיל מסורת של אירועים לציון ייחודה של ירושלים גם בתפוצות, ואני קורא לכולן לציין את היום החשוב הזה. אם אשכחך ירושלים, תשכח ימיני. מאז הקמת המדינה, 19 שנים העיר ירושלים ואתריה הקדושים היו בשבי האויב. לפני 55 שנים, צנחנים עזי נפש פרצו דרך שער האריות לתוך העיר העתיקה, ובחרו בהתרגשות מול שרידי בית המקדש, הכותל המערבי. ירושלים שלנו, שבנו אל חיקך. והיום, כ"ח באייר הוא יום חגך, יום תרועה, שמחה וגיל. יום ירושלים הוא יום חג לאומי לציון איחוד העיר ירושלים, תחת ריבונות ישראלית. לאחר הקרב על ירושלים במלחמת ששת הימים ב-1967. אנחנו בהסתדרות הציונית העולמית נחגוג בשירים ובריקודים. שישו את ירושלים גילו בה כל אוהביה. חבריי בבניין ההסתדרות הציונית בירושלים ברחוב המלך ג'ורג' שולחים ברכה גדולה לאחינו היושבים בתפוצות. ירושלים היא נעת בירת ישראל, עוד מימי המלך דוד. בתקופת המקרא נהגו בני ישראל לעלות לרגל אלייך העיר הקדושה 3 פעמים בשנה. גברים, נשים וטף, נערו אלייך ירושלים, העפילו אל הר הבית, לבית המקדש, הקריבו קורבנות והתפעלו לאל. ירושלים, יותר מכל, את מסמלת את הכיסופים והכמיהה אל המולדת הקדומה. את מסמלת גם את התקווה לשוב אל המולדת ההיסטורית, אל ארץ ישראל, אל הארץ המובטחת. בתקופת הגלות שנמשכה לאורך 2000 שנה, יהודים בכל רחבי התבל התפעלו ויחלו לשנה הבאה בירושלים. חלמנו עלייך, קראנו עלייך, התגעגענו אלייך, שנה אחר שנה, דור אחר דור. ומיפית קריה נאמנה. את הנשמה, את הנפש והרוח, הלב הפועם של עמנו. ובנייך שבו אלייך נפעמים מהתרגשות. אני מברך את כל הארגונים הלוקחים חלק בחיזוק בירת ישראל ותושביה, וקורא לכולם לקחת חלק פעיל ביום חשוב זה. אנו מייחלים ומאחלים שבשנה הבאה יהודי התפוצות כולם יזכו לעלות לישראל ולחגוג את יום ירושלים בירושלים הבנויה.
Okay, Shlomi, thank you very much. This is indeed the day where our joint vision and the vision of God for Yom Yerushalayim has come together, so that's really awesome. Thank you very much for being part of our team. And, not the whole world did not recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, especially the United States. But on December 6, 2017, then U.S. President Donald Trump announced that the U.S. would indeed recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and would move the embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. Ambassador David Friedman is an American lawyer, a former U.S. ambassador to Israel, an author of a new book called Sledgehammer, and he played a major role in the Trump administration in order to move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem. He helped make it happen. Ambassador Friedman joins us today on Yom Yerushalayim. Ambassador, Yom Yerushalayim Samech, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Yishai. Chag Yerushalayim Samech to you too.
It's awesome having you here. Tell us a little bit about, we don't have a lot of time, but tell us a little bit about how you managed to help move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, thereby having American recognition and thereby having really global recognition of Yerushalayim as the capital of Israel.
Well, it had been American law for almost more than 20 years at that point. There was a Jerusalem Embassy Act, which no president was willing to observe. And so the first step was really just making sure that the administration was familiar with the law and understood that all the excuses in the past that had been used to delay moving our embassy to Jerusalem just no longer applied. And we began to look at Israel very differently. We looked at Israel really as a solution in the Middle East, not as a problem. That was true of Democratic and Republican administrations before us. And so we saw the opportunity really with one great dramatic action to fulfill an American law that had been unfulfilled, to fulfill the will of the American people, and to fulfill, a yearning, a multi-thousand-year yearning of the Jewish people, that not only would the Jewish people recognize Jerusalem as their eternal capital, but the nations of the world would as well. And as the most powerful nation in the world, lead that. And look, I believe this is forever, and I believe that other nations will follow.
It was an awesome thing. I happened to be in Australia watching it. I was on tour in Australia watching how the celebration was happening at the embassy, and I was crying, and everybody in Australia was crying. I think around the world people were just very, very moved. Now, speaking of crying, you have an amazing story about one day that you came to Israel to celebrate a wedding, I think, of a cousin, but it didn't work out exactly like planned. Tell me about that.
So this was in September of 2003, long before I had even thought about the possibility of serving in the U.S. government, and I was in Israel to attend a cousin's wedding, and this was during really the dark days of the Second Intifada, and the night before the wedding, my cousin's fiance Nava Applebaum was having a bite to eat with her father David in Cafe Hillel, and a suicide bomber came in and blew up the restaurant and took the lives of both father and daughter. It was, needless to say, one of the most crushing moments of my life, and of course even more so for the immediate family. So the next day was the funeral, and it was in Har Menuchot, and I'm a Kohen. I couldn't go to the funeral, and I'm walking around at a days trying to think, how can I connect? How can I make something out of this tragedy? I'm not an Israeli citizen. I don't send my children to the army. What can I do to have some skin in the game? So, I called my wife, who was back in the States, and said, look, let's today go out and buy a big, beautiful home in Jerusalem. Not because it's going to make anybody feel better or bring anybody any real comfort, but at least we'll be saying for ourselves, the Jewish people will always be in Jerusalem. No one's going to push us out. And I'm in that apartment right now. I'm here. I'm speaking to you. We've had it since 2003, and I didn't use it at all when I was the ambassador. So for 4 years, it laid empty. But it's great to have, and it's great to be back in this beautiful home. So
Nava Applebaum and her father David get murdered. You say, I'm going to connect. I'm not going to allow them to make me afraid. I'm not going to walk away from the city. The opposite. I'm going to engage it. And that's really the question that I have for you. For the audience today, which is, how do you recommend American Jewry or folks around the world that love Israel, that are watching this today and are celebrating Yom Yerushalayim in some way, how do they take a step towards connectivity, towards Yerushalayim? How do they help build Yerushalayim here on Jerusalem55.org?
So, I think about this all the time because it just is such a daily aspect of my life. And with all the ideas and all the strategies that people have come up with, I've narrowed it down to something very simple, which is try to be a better Jew, try to be a more educated Jew, try to be a more committed Jew, try to be someone who understands the history of the Jewish people, the 4,000-year-old history from the days of Abraham to the present, understand the land of Israel, understand the miracle that today we can go to Jerusalem and pray in the same language, the same prayers, at the same place that we prayed 2,000 years ago. Be part of that continuum, learn it, understand it, and I'm convinced that anyone who understands it, and again, it doesn't matter, how they observe. I'm not a rabbi, and I'm not offering, religious advice. But the more you understand what it means to be a Jew in the 21st century and all that it brings with it from years ago, the more you will love Israel and understand why Israel is.
So one of the ways that you helped during your time as ambassador is you made a lot of political moves. You helped the Abraham Accords happen. You moved the embassy to Jerusalem, recognition of the Golan Heights, et cetera, et cetera. But you also had fun. And one of the things that you did was on Rosh Hashanah, you made a video going to the shuk, the outdoor market in Jerusalem, and showing your preparations, apples and honey. So you also had some fun with it. Tell me a little bit about that video shoot.
We tried to make a video before every one of the major chagim, something where Tammy and I would humanize the observance, make it fun and exciting. The shuk is, Machane Yehuda is one of the great places in Israel. It's it's just brimming with life and excitement and beautiful food, fresh food from all over the world. And you really get to feel the preparations for the Chag. So we went there. We looked for some honey, some apples. We met the people there. I love all the shopkeepers. I've come to know them well. And we made a video there. We made lots of videos. So you can probably find, I don't know, probably.
Thank you, Ambassador David Friedman. Thank you for all that you've done and that you continue to do. You're really bringing Jerusalem stronger into the world, and the world has recognized it because of some of your efforts. It's amazing. So happy Yom Yerushalayim. And we're going to keep going now with Yom Yerushalayim. We're going to check out a short video showing people from around the world in Yerushalayim, Jerusalem.
Now we have a special guest joining us from Olam Shalem, an organization that connects young Jewish people all around the world with their heritage in Jerusalem. Adi Werner, thank you so much for joining us today. Adi, it's a pleasure. So tell us all about your organization.
Hi, and thank you very much. Olam Shalem was established 4 years ago in the purpose of strengthening the connection of Jewish children and youth around the world with Yerushalayim.
So how exactly do you do that? How do you make that connection?
So we work with teachers around the world and with students in 6 languages. We produce materials, lessons, and activities for schools, for grades 1st till 6, and for youth movements from middle school and up, and for the leadership groups. And through our activities, we teach them history, heritage, actual things that connect them with Jerusalem. Through the connection to Jerusalem, they connect to Israel, they connect to their heritage, their history, their roots. And the topic of Jerusalem connects the Jews around the world. All colors of Jewish people can find their own connection to Yerushalayim, even though they're different from each other. And in that point, they connect with each other.
So Adi, tell me, to you, why is Jerusalem so special, so personal?
To me, Jerusalem is so personal because my grandfather made Aliyah to Yerushalayim on the 19th century from Yemen. And since then, I have the stories I grew up on. He fought in the British Brigade against the Germans. He was an artist in the Bezalel Academy, which was established those days. And for sure, he saw the country established on 1948. And I grew up on his stories. I wasn't able to meet him, unfortunately. Then I became a tour guide for my service. And I saw and I felt that this heritage, these roots, should be passed to the next generations.
Incredible. And my last question, what is your one message for the next generation? How do you want young people across the globe to unite?
My mission and my vision is we are one nation. We have one country and one Jerusalem. So please, let's open a big place for that in our heart. And I call each one to find his own Jerusalem.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you speaking to us, and keep up the incredible work that you're doing. Again, that was Adi Werner. Thank you so much again, Adi. And remember, you can support Jerusalem by visiting Jerusalem55.org.
העיר העתיקה של ירושלים, שמאז כל הדורות חותמים עליה ושואפים אליה. לנוע אל השער. מסדר הסיום יהיה על הרחבה למעלה. עד כאן המוטו. הר הבית בידינו, כאן תמיד, הר הבית בידינו.
אינני אדם דתי, מעולם לא הייתי. ואני נוגע באבני הכותל המערבי.
Bracha Torenheim is the co-founder of Flow Motion Studios. We're in her studio right now. She's also one of the visionaries who brought together organizations and this idea of Jerusalem Day going international and 30 organizations coming together under one umbrella called 5.org in order to push out Jerusalem to the world and to bring support for Jerusalem from the world. Bracha, thank you so much for joining us on your program today.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us.
That's right. I should be in Jerusalem, but I'm here in Brooklyn with you. Tell me, why did you do this? You know, you could have just flown to Jerusalem if you wanted to be part of it. Why are we doing this whole event? It's really it's your vision. So why are we doing it?
Okay, so I'm a Yerushalmi. Our family is 8 generations in Yerushalayim. I'm the 8th one.
8 generations?
8 generations.
What is that
from my grandmother's side?
What's that, from the 1800s?
Yeah.
Wow.
We have very nice history of our family and Yerushalayim. I remember my grandmother speaking Arabic. I love Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is the most amazing city in the world. Happened that I live here in New York for 10 years, and I was not able to be there for 7 years. A few months ago, we celebrated our son bar mitzvah, and I took the children there, and we took them to the old city. And that time I was there as a tourist. And I looked at Yerushalayim and I said, wow, it's beautiful. It's so inspiring, so much energy. I want to take it and to bring it to the people here. And that's how all this idea came. I came back and I tried to reach out and to find partners to make it happen. Our company, Flow Motion, we are a production company, and you can see Flow Motion at any major production in the Jewish market in America. You can see us in Husk and in Atzalathon and in Moment and the Hall of Fame. Every major production, we are there. And I wanted to take our great team and to produce something about Yerushalayim, to tell the story of Yerushalayim. We are storytellers, and I love history. I was in touch with people in Israel that they were part of the Six-Day War. I was able to interview the people that liberated the Kotel, and they're still friends, and they're such an amazing people. And it was such an experience, and I'm so happy that here we are today, celebrating Yom Yerushalayim, and not only celebrating, really taking it to action and making people to be part of it by giving donations and building Yerushalayim and helping the people in Yerushalayim.
Right, so we're pushing out a broadcast about Jerusalem Day with a lot of interviews, a lot of folks from Yerushalayim, from history to today to great leaders. And at the same time, we're asking people not just to sit back and receive, but to get up out of their chair, to go to that computer, put in that credit card, build Jerusalem today, build Jerusalem. So I really love that idea of like pushing it out and also accepting and helping build Jerusalem. That's a great vision. And you got together with other organizations, with your Flow Motion, together with Olam Shalem, with Cause Match, with the WZO. So you got together with a lot of strong folks to make this happen. Tell me about that collaboration.
Okay, actually I have a good friend. His name is Zohar Vlosky. And he helped me a lot with his connections. He believed in me from the first moment. Thank you, Zohar. And he made the connection between me and the WZO, and then they brought Olam Shalem in. And you know, with them, with their back, we were able to gather 30 organizations, of course, Cause Match, the great crowdfunding platform that they were able to guide all these organizations and to bring them in. And here we are today. And it's not just about to love Israel, it's about action, it's about real action. Our slogan, our campaign slogan is love is action. And now you have this opportunity, and you can really choose a donation. Anyone can choose any donation. What's beautiful about this project, that it's not just about one thing. If you are connected to, if you want to help by helping sick children, or if you want to even help animals, to save animals, right, or Torah, or to save the Kotel, or whatever, everyone, lefty or righty or religious or not religious, can find something that he likes and to support. But the main things, I wanted to do something like it's like a Giving Tuesday, Yerushalayim Day, the people knows, and Yom Yerushalayim, you give to Yerushalayim.
That's right, beautiful. So there's so many things coming together. First thing that's coming together is Brooklyn and Jerusalem, right? Like America and Yerushalayim. So we're bridging that through technology. 30 organizations, the various kinds that you mentioned, the head organizations that come together all in the studio. And also another aspect of it is Hasidic Jewry, Chabad, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, together with Zionism, the rebirth of the Jewish state, the liberation and reunification of Jerusalem. It's all coming together on this one thing that brings us all together. Yerushalayim, it's the city that brings us together.
Right. First Rebbe of Chabad, the Balatanya, he was arrested because he helped the Jewish people in Israel.
That's right.
He used to send. He had a Kolel Chabad, Tzedakah, foundation that he collected money to help the needies in Israel, and that's why he was arrested for it. So in Chabad, it's very deep. Even if you live in Russia or you live in America or you live anywhere in the world, you still have to remember the people in Jerusalem.
And the rebuilding of Jerusalem. Bracha Torenheim, thank you so much. Thank you for this great endeavor. Thank you for bringing me out here to Brooklyn to celebrate Jerusalem Day and for bringing us all together for this one great cause, Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem55.org. Toda Rabba. So there are a lot of great organizations represented here. It's so much fun to look at it. I'm just looking on my phone at Jerusalem55.org, and I just see all kinds of great organizations like giving strength to Haredi lone soldiers, ultra-Orthodox lone soldiers, and I see people with helping burn patients, for example. So there's all kinds of amazing folks that are really helping sometimes niche needs. One of them is computer programming literacy for Jerusalem's underprivileged youth. Okay, so if you're underprivileged, you're probably not working on computers so much, you're just hanging out outside. But the folks at 4Start are changing all of that. Let's meet Mor Wegner Michelson and Tzvi Michelson of 4Start to tell us about their efforts to help underprivileged kids in Jerusalem. Shalom, guys. Good to see you.
Shalom. Good to see you.
Shalom. Hello.
Happy Yom Yerushalayim.
We're actually broadcasting to you live in Jerusalem.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we hear you great. You
Hear
guys
us okay?
You're beautiful. I hear you awesome. And thank you so much for coming to us from Yerushalayim, Mir HaKodesh. And happy Yom Yerushalayim. Already for you, it's already the after party. Tell us a little bit about 4Start and why you started an organization. Speaking of starting, why did you start an organization to help this specific need of underprivileged kids to connect to computer programming?
Okay, so great. Thank you for talking to us. Yom Yerushalayim Sameach to everyone listening. My name is Tzvi and this is Mor. And we're right now live from Jerusalem. We are two computer science graduates from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. Our goal, in essence, is to bring the world of high tech from Tel Aviv also to Jerusalem. We want Jerusalem to be both economically strong and socially equal. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we founded a nonprofit organization that is now only 3 years old, and it's changing the face of Jerusalem. We do so by making sure that no kid is left behind from the Israeli dream of a startup nation. Our organization is called 4Start, and we teach computer programming to 7th and 8th graders from a wide variety of backgrounds, with the full diversity that Jerusalem has to offer. 4Start provides opportunities for Haredi girls, for youth at risk, and even for high school dropouts. I'll tell you about one girl from a Haredi group. Her name is Rivki. Rivki is 13 years old. She's from Neve Yaakov in Jerusalem. 4Start for her takes place in her community center. Every week on Thursdays at 4 p.m., she goes, together with another 15 girls from her seminary, to 4Start's programming class. Her instructors are girls who finished studying in the seminary she's learning in just a few years ago. Rivki came to 4Start, and she discovered that she has a passion for coding. She loves it. She wants to do it. So she asked her instructor, if I want to do this when I grow up, what do I have to do? That's when she discovered that she was already behind. If she wants to continue and study computer science, she has to improve both her math and her English substantially. Mm-hmm. So she talked to her parents, and she talked to her teachers, and she got a private tutor, and she went to her remedial class, and she worked very hard. She worked very hard for a year, and she managed to make that up. And she went from the lowest level of math all the way up to the highest level, wow, both math and English, wow, so that she can continue and study computer science. Now, this exposure to future career prospects and the empowerment that 4Start gave her, that she could achieve this if she really wanted to, they allowed her to make a change in her life. In order to continue changing the lives of other Rivkis, We basically need your help. Our bottleneck right now is financing. We have the students on board, we have the schools on board, we have instructors. The only thing we are lacking is financing. This year we had demand for 4 Haredi groups, but it didn't happen because we couldn't manage to get the money. We currently have 17 groups all around Jerusalem. We have more than 300 students and we're just getting started. We have a lot more to go.
It sounds like an amazing...
If you can scroll down.
More, what do you have to add something to us?
I want to say that our growth from 12 kids to 300 kids within 3 years grow exponentially, and we have a very sustainable model and everything. And I think it shows that it's not really a niche subject, because I feel that the future of Israel really depends on our ability to have a strong economy and, you know, to last for many, many years. And currently there's also a need of a lot of skilled people, because one of the things that keep Israel going is our sense of innovation and our ability to build stuff that, you know, our country is not just any country. In 70 years, we built something amazing here. That's right. And we want to keep everyone as part of this dream. And we want to keep everyone involved. So I think it's the opposite of niche. We're taking something that is a niche and we're saying, you know what, it's not.
Guys, I think it's beautiful. First thing, it's just...
That's what I wanted to add.
It's a pleasure to just meet you and meet young people like yourselves who are yourselves with your life, changing Jerusalem, strengthening Jerusalem. So thank you very much for that. I want everybody to check out Jerusalem55.org. I went on my phone, I scrolled down, I saw it right there. There they are, 4 Start. I see it right here. So go to 4 Start, and if you like what they're doing, you like these young people, they're awesome. They're making a difference. They themselves are building Jerusalem, and they're helping young people build Jerusalem. That's at Jerusalem55.org today on this Yom Yerushalayim. Now, you're not going to have young people that are underprivileged if they're not born at all. Okay, you have to have them born. And there's an organization on our list here of Jerusalem55.org called Just One Life. Just One Life. And basically, it's there to help women who are struggling during pregnancy for one reason or another. Actually, we're going to find out what the problem they face is, but it definitely helps the kids be born. So Rabbi Marty Katz is the executive vice president of Just One Life. He joins us. Rabbi, Yom Yerushalayim Sameach.
Chag Sameach. How are you?
Thank you so much for joining us live from Yerushalayim, Yera Kodesh. If I can ask you, tell me a little bit about what are the struggles that pregnant women face that Just One Life helps them with?
It comes down to money. There are a lot of financial stress, but there's also psychological stress. Many women, pregnancy in crisis, we're talking about marrieds, we're talking sometimes singles. For the last 32 years, I have devoted my life to this cause. Just One Life, from the Talmudic phrase, he who saves a life in Israel, it's as if he saved the world. Any kind of situation with pregnancy, it comes to our office. You would be surprised the kinds of situations. And there's a team of therapists under V'chaya Katzin, who's the director, who have all sense of college degrees, you name it, whether it's ABA, whether it's drama therapy, whether it's a psychoanalytical therapy, whatever it is, they could deal with the situation. We not only deal with pregnancy in crisis, if it's chas v'shalom, God forbid, a family or an expectant mother is considering to terminate. I want to make that clear. It's any kind of pregnancy. And I'll demonstrate that if just give me a moment. First, Sharei Tzedek. He should only have a refuah shlema. Dr. Ori Chen, the head of a department dealing with high-risk pregnancies in Sharei Tzedek, a personal friend. Any kind of difficult pregnancy, when the expectant mother needs some therapy, it lands in King George in our office, and we've done amazing work. I'm not embarrassed to tell you that very often when I go to Sharei Tzedek, I feel like I'm a hero because they run over to us what our staff has done. I will tell you one of the most fascinating stories, which deals with pregnancy in crisis, that was written up in the papers 24 years ago. An expectant mother, 7 children, Haredi, was expecting quadruplets.
Wow.
The doctors told her to fetal reduce. There was really no reason when our doctors and our team got involved. We couldn't understand it. So I speak to you now telling you, these quadruplets are 24 years old.
Wow.
2 of them are married, and each of them have a child. Right before COVID, a month before COVID, my wife and I visited Israel to give brachot to these 4. And if I had time, the pictures of the wedding was in Nissan, right at the Hatchalat COVID, just when COVID began. When you talk about wearing ropes or a gartel or a mask, it was because everybody wore it then. A year later, a baby is born. 2 years later, the second of the 4 gets married, and again, the baby is born. Right before Purim, I had the zchut, the privilege with my wife to go to Israel, and I met with these 4. I had 2 granddaughters. I stand before you to tell you right before Purim, I actually spent about 15, 20 minutes with Sarah Torah, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, okay, to give him a report about these quadruplets. These are the kinds of situations we handle. Any situation, but I want to make sure it's clear. There's no dogma, there's no screaming, there's no yelling. It's professional. What do you need? Do you want our help? How can we help you in any form of pregnancy with funds over 12 months or after?
Very good. Rabbi Marty, that's amazing. Just one life. And if you just go down to Jerusalem55.org, you can just save just one life. It's just that simple. And therefore build Yerushalayim. So we're like getting multiple wins here. We're learning about Yerushalayim. We've met Rabbi Marty. You're awesome. And he's saving lives. He's got these quadruplets. And Rabbi, I want to wish you quadruple the bracha and quadruple the success to continue to succeed to help Jewish children, Israeli children, be born in the land of Israel in Yerushalayim Yer Kodesh. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
One comment. Can I say one comment? One more comment?
Sure.
Yes. That is, we're here to raise money. So every time we come up with $1,800, we come up with a baby. A kindergarten, sometimes we talk about it's $26,000. It's hard these last few days to come up with different sums of money. So, ladies and gentlemen, we just received notice from one of our corporate sponsors, the Charlton Group. It went from 10 to 30, but it's a corporate sponsor. I just spoke to co-chairman Stevie Adelsberg, who is unbelievable. He gave an additional 5. Jack Forgash, our chairman, he's giving another 25. We need your help. God bless Jerusalem 55, and God bless Bracha, who's actually been in touch with me, who did fabulous in arranging this show, and we should only see the Yeshua B'Karov Yamein.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Marty. Thank you very much to Just One Life. We appreciate it, and keep building Am Yisrael, keep building Yerushalayim. Now, if you're going to go to Jerusalem55.org, if you're going to donate $55, you're going to end up in a raffle. That raffle is going to maybe bring you to Eretz Israel. So you have an opportunity to help build Jerusalem and then visit Jerusalem. Maybe you'll see Rabbi Marty in the street. Maybe you'll see him in the shuk. And there are many great organizations. Again, I just went to went to the website here and I just checked out all the different organizations that there are today. There's so many beautiful ones. Let's see. I like this one. What's this? Helping Children Breathe. Hertzog Jerusalem Hospital. They're specialists in lung and breathing issues. And there's also an organization that is about the spiritual needs of the Israeli soldier, and that's called Tzalash. Tzalash is actually an acronym, meaning to say that you get a, well, you know what? I'll have Rabbi David Gottlieb, who's somebody I know, who I see now on the screen with us. Rabbi David Gottlieb is the director of Tzalash. You know, Rabbi David, I haven't seen you in a few years. It's good to see you. Tell me a little bit about the organization that you're running today.
Shalom Aleichem. How are you? I hope you're doing well. It is a long time no see. I'm glad you even remember me. Thank you so much.
I remember the face.
You were referring to Tzalash as an acronym.
Go ahead.
So it's actually a double entendre and an acronym. You're referring to Tzion L'Shvach, very popular phrase that everyone in Israel knows. You get a gold star, whether it's in first grade or in the army. But we named our organization Tzalash not only because of that, but also it stands for Tzava L'Shem Shamayim. That is to help give spiritual strength and inspiration to religious soldiers who are in the army. Livui Ruchani L'Chayal Hadati. And as you know, you are a soldier. To be a soldier is incredibly difficult, but to be a religious soldier is even more difficult. And I want to be clear about this, not because chas v'shalom, the army is anti-religious or really making things intentionally difficult, but simply because the stress, both physical and mental, of being in the army is so demanding that it really doesn't leave that much space for people to nourish themselves spiritually. And you can believe, as I do and I know as you do, that to be in the IDF, to be in Tzahal is a great mitzvah. But you know, Yishai, some mitzvahs are nourishing and others are draining. And very often the mitzvah of protecting Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael can be a draining experience. And what we have found, and what was an open secret in Israel for many, many years, was that a lot of religious kids, even if they were in Hesder, were struggling in the army. And therefore, that's why Tzalash was founded. We're in our 10th year to help provide that religious inspiration as well as emotional support to help these young men, dedicated and brave as they are, be able to maintain their passion for Judaism while they're defending all of us and the land of Israel.
Rabbi Gottlieb, I got to tell you, it's really striking a chord with me. I remember my years in the Sadir service. What's Sadir called when you're conscripted service? And I totally remember feeling that I was really not getting strengthened through, although I felt like I was wearing a mitzvah by wearing my uniform and carrying my gun and defending Israel. At the same time, I agree with you, there was a depleting aspect, especially on Shabbat. Like on Shabbat, it was just so tired that you just wanted to rest the whole Shabbat. You didn't really exactly make it to shul. You didn't hear that lesson, that class. You didn't get that kind of singing and that kind of atmosphere. And yeah, had there been 25 years ago a tzalash to help me and be a tzava l'shem shamayim, an army for the sake of heaven, that definitely would have helped me. So I really, it resonates with me a lot. I really understand the purpose and meaning of that. Tell me a little bit about like the day-to-day. How do you help a particular soldier? And how does somebody that donates today to Jerusalem55.org on today, Yom Yerushalayim, how does that strengthen spiritually that soldier?
Thank you so much. That's a great question. So we have a wide range of programs, and obviously in the brief time we have, I can't go through all of them, but it's interesting you mentioned Shabbat. And as we know in the rest of us civilians, that's our day to rejuvenate and to rise spiritually. But as you said, and this is obviously no criticism of the soldier, if he's not actively patrolling on an active mission, he's most likely just asleep all Shabbos. And no one could criticize him for that. But wouldn't he and wouldn't we want him to be able to have something more spiritually rejuvenating and inspiring? And the answer is, of course. And one of our most popular programs is therefore called Kiddusha Rabbak, which, as you may recall, that's a slang that's very popular in the army, Rabbak. But again, it's also a double entendre because the Gemara refers to the Shabbos morning Kiddush as the Kiddusha Rabbah. So we have a very popular Shabbos program called Kiddusha Rabbak, where soldiers on any army base know that if they're going to do any type of group learning, part of what is our signature is not just soldiers doing something spiritually meaningful by themselves, but in a group, the pluga, the kita, the machlaka, doing something as a chevra. The whole army experience is about that teamwork. We want the religious rejuvenation to be that similar. They all know that any one of them who are going to have some kind of meaningful Shabbos experience beyond the actual davening, they're going to have an extra Tish Friday night, a Shalosh Shudas, Sudash Lishit, as we might say here in Israel, or a Kiddush with a learning program, all of the Gashmiyut, all the food, all the drink, all the snacks, Aleinu, on us. And I have to tell you, it sounds like a small thing, but I meet soldiers time and time again, including some of my students, including even some of my relatives, and obviously plenty of strangers, and they'll tell me just giving that Shabbos back brings them back to their experience in civilian life in yeshiva pre-army, and that strengthens their entire week. Our broad range of programs begin even before the religious soldier has drafted, especially if they're in one of the pre-army yeshivot, or which we visit, we make connections with them that last already through the draft process. We were there, for example, as you may know, there were a huge draft of religious soldiers before Pesach. There were 9 different dates, for example, and just people might not even realize, just in those days before Pesach, about 1,000 new kippah-wearing soldiers were drafted and enlisted into Tzahal, and each of the 9 days that they drafted, we were there helping learn, bring spirituality and rejuvenation. And the simple kunst, if you will, of what makes Salash so unique and so powerful is that there are many groups now, maybe probably more than when you were in the army, who go to the army and give shiurim. And that's great. There's no competition. They should all be blessed. The more the merrier. We do that also. What makes us unique, among other things, is that we focus on what we would call active learning. We have specially designed small little Gemaras and Mishnayot and other Svarim, which we give out to the Chayalim, which we inspire them to learn on their own. How do we do that? Because when we go and we have a program, we then give out these Gemaras. We say, we're going to learn now for half an hour, not just give a shiur. You give a shiur, you go, you leave, it's over. But then we all learn. But we don't just learn for half an hour. We divide up a Masechet. You take Daf Bet, you take Daf Gimel, you Chavruta, and just like the whole army is based on teamwork and cohesion, and within an hour, now that group has polished up an entire Masechet.
Amazing.
And then, of course,
Amazing,
we bring
Rabbi.
the music, we bring the excitement, and that inspires them to then hopefully learn and stay connected even after we leave the base.
Fabulous. Rabbi, I love it. Salash is great. I'm looking forward to getting more in touch with you when I get back from good Brooklyn to beautiful Yerushalayim, to Hertzog, and see if we can bring you more amongst the soldiers where I work in Hebron, and we look forward to seeing you more. And keep up the great work, Rabbi. And please, I want everybody I recommend that you just go to Jerusalem55.org, and there it is. Salash is right there. They're just making a difference. And as all these amazing organizations are in building and strengthening Israel and specifically Yerushalayim. Rabbi, Yom Yerushalayim Sameach, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Yishai. Everybody, please help and support us. We need your help. Thank you.
All right. And now, when we think about Yerushalayim, there's like a few songs, like, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. Everybody knows Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. That's like a famous song. But there is a song in the Israeli canon which is beloved by all, especially Sephardi Jews, but really everybody knows it. It was written, it's old words from the Psalms, but it's had a new tune made by Avihu Medina, and it's called Shabachi Yerushalayim. Now, one of the famous people who sings Shabachi Yerushalayim is actually the mayor of Jerusalem today. He gets into places and he's like, Shabachi Yerushalayim. And I also like to sing it, but that's not what's going to happen today. Today we're going to hear Mordechai Salem, the great Chazan, singing this great, amazing song, Shabachi Yerushalayim. Bless Jerusalem. Jerusalem, bless God, for he has strengthened your gates.
Thank you so much, Mordechai Salem, for this beautiful and inspiring song. Now, here with us now, we have Rabbi Menachem Bombach, the founder and CEO of the Leket Israel Educational Network. This year, the organization was awarded the annual Jerusalem Unity Prize in the category of education. This prize is awarded to groups that are instrumental in advancing mutual respect for others, Jewish unity, and inspiring tolerance across the globe. Rabbi Bombach, one, thank you so much for being here with us, and two, congratulations on this incredible award. So first, tell me about your organization. And you're in Jerusalem right now, right, or nearby?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for this welcome, and absolutely, we are so excited for this great prize. And as you start, Netzach Education Network is a new message in the Haredi community. Just imagine, we started 8 years ago with 14 kids. Now we have 10 schools, and we have a virtual school, and 13,000 students are studying in our schools. And this is a huge and enormous movement. I think once we start, we could never anticipate that we're going to stay in just 8 years in such a big amount of kids and families. And it's very exciting, yeah.
That's incredible. So what makes your school stand out from other schools? Why is it so unique?
So we want to show the community that we can stay inside the community. We can be with a strong Jewish Haredi identity, but at the same time to be integrated in Israel, to be a part of Israel, to raise the solidarity from our kids to Israel. Because now, just imagine, we are a community that we are growing very, very fast. In 2028, 40% of all our first graders in Israel will be members of the Haredi community. And just imagine how many of them couldn't be a part of the workforce. It's not just damaging Israel, the economic system, it's damaged themselves, the kids, the families. You know what is meant poor. I live next to Jerusalem. You have a city, the 60% of the people are under the poverty line. So it's so sad. And I think it's a new message. We can stay Haredi and at the same time to be a part of Israel, to be doctors, lawyers, engineers. And we have enormous, amazing stories from our graduates. People are so excited to meet them everywhere in the high-tech. So we have already results. So we start as a dream, but now we can enjoy the fruit from our journey.
Oh, it's incredible to hear how you have expanded, really. So you're obviously a partner of Jerusalem 55. If you and when you receive donations, what are you going to do with that money exactly? How will you help further your mission?
First of all, I want to say that we have very nice and unique pedagogical projects. And also once we have money, we open more and more and more schools. There is a waiting list of schools who wants to be a part of us. And we want to do much more. And it's not easy in Israel, you know, the bureaucracy, and there is some political issues, but we know we are on the way. And this is one thing, but another one, it's very important for us because we believe to prepare a guy to the new world, to the 21st century, we need to provide them the right tools. That means we need to give them life skills, soft skills, listening skills, how to be creative, how to be cooperational, how to communicate with others, and how to, you know, the critical thinking, for example, is one of the great tools that also shows that it's so important to be a part of the new world. So we are focused about those issues, and we want also very much, they should love Torah, they should be God-fearing, but they should be practical and regular people in Israel. And you know, I used to say for the Americans, you should know, when your grandsons were going to come to Israel, I want to make sure they come to a great Israel.
Rabbi Bombach, thank you so much for speaking with us. You're incredibly inspiring, and I hope that your network continues to expand.
Thank you.
A happy Yom Yerushalayim to you. Thank you. And thank you so much to all of you who are still with us. We'll be right back.
נוטים להיכנס אליה. העיר העתיקה של ירושלים, שמאז כל הדורות חותמים עליה ושואפים אליה. לנוע אל השער. מסדר הסיום יהיה על הרחבה למעלה. עד כאן עמודו. הר הבית בידינו, כאן תלמיד, הר הבית בידינו. אינני אדם דתי, מעולם לא הייתי. אני נוגע באבני הכותל המערבי. ברוך אתה אדוני מנחם ציון ובונה ירושלים.
לתוך הפרטים. כל אדם מחפש מקומות ונופים חדשים בעולם, הוא חוצה יבשות וימים במסע של הנפש לשם. על כנפי מחוזות הדמיון הוא מפליג בספינה אל הים, אך בסוף זה הלב, הלב שמוביל אותנו לשם. כל הדרכים, השבילים, הכבישים, השלטים מובילים לירושלים. כל התפילות, הדמעות, בקשות, מחשבות מובילות לירושלים. כל השירים, פיוטים, מזמורים, סיפורים, כולם לירושלים, ירושלים שבלב.
Jai, that was awesome. That was beautiful. What a medley. What a medley of all the Jerusalem songs. I was dancing. I was in the green room, and I was just like, with technicians, I was singing it along, right? We were having a lot of fun. So it is really fun to celebrate, because that's what today is really about. It's about victory. It's about celebration. It's about, really like thanking God and pausing the complaints and just really feeling it today. And then from that point of view, from that place, we take it further to support and build Jerusalem. And I go to the Jerusalem55.org website right now. There's a lot of organizations that I'm very close to personally. One of them is United with Israel. They're a Facebook page. They're a news outlet. They speak to Jews and to Gentiles around the world. They've got I think they have 2 million Facebook followers, and they're pumping out Jerusalem and Israel to the world. And I support them, and I'm with them, and I think they're doing great work. That's United with Israel. And there's other ones, for example, the good folks at Jerusalem Forever Foundation. Jerusalem Foundation, they protect the history, legacy, and connection of the Jewish people and the world to Jerusalem. So that's what we were saying the whole time. You can easily, just with your donation, pick an organization, and you can strengthen Jerusalem today and celebrate with your strength. Be part of that. Be part of that celebration by saying, yes, not only do I celebrate it, I'm with it, I'm part of it. Let Jerusalem Day celebrate you for being part of the great success of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. That's Jerusalem55.org. Open your heart, take action. Simple as that. Open your heart, take action. Now, Jerusalem connects heaven and earth, and we have with us somebody who really understands that well. It's Rabbi Dr. Ezra Frazier. He's the past champion and also later a judge of the Chidon Tanakh, the Bible competition for adults. He's a Judaic studies teacher at Heschel High School. Rabbi, good to see you here. Thank you, and Chag Sameach, Yom Yerushalayim Sameach.
Thank you. Yom Yerushalayim Sameach to you as well, Yishai.
It's good to see you. And if I can ask you, Jerusalem, how does it do it? How does it unite so many people, so many things? How does it unite heaven and earth?
Well, I think what's fascinating to think about, I'll share my perspective, especially being someone who lives in the diaspora. I think we often think in particular about the heavenly side of the diaspora. We're not in the physical Jerusalem. So instead, we just focus on our ability to pray there 3 times a day. And, for me, the moment where I realized more to it than that was at my bar mitzvah. It was my first trip to Israel. And right after we landed, we went to dinner in Merkaz Ha'ir, in the center of Jerusalem. And I remember I felt really uncomfortable. I felt like I thought I'm coming to this holy city that's filled with the divine presence, and now I'm having a hamburger on Ben Yehuda Street. How does that fit together? But then over time, I began to understand that's actually the point. Our Nevi'im, our prophets, speak a lot about prophecies of the Shekhinah, of God's presence returning to Jerusalem, of rebuilding the Temple of Jerusalem, being a holy city filled with Jews praying, connecting to God there. And at the same time, the prophet Zechariah says, his idea of a redeemed Jerusalem is where elderly people are just sitting on park benches. And children are going to be playing in the streets. And the beauty of Jerusalem is it's both these things. It's a place where simultaneously Jews can go about their daily lives, older people sitting on park benches, children playing in the parks. And at the same time, you have Har Habayit, the Temple Mount, right there, this place of God's Shekhinah, and it's the fusion between them.
That's right.
So there's one midrash I'm very fond of where God says that he created this Yerushalayim Shalom, this heavenly Jerusalem, because he so loved the Jerusalem down below that we created. And that really speaks to this idea that it's up to us to create that connection, this city where Jews live and go about their daily lives. At the same time, they seek out God there. And when God sees us seeking him out from what's our human political capital city at the same time, that's when he responds and says, that's such a beautiful thing. I want my throne to be parallel to that up in heaven in the Yerushalayim Shalom, in the heavenly Jerusalem.
I love it, and that's a beautiful thought. And I also heard a similar medrash which says that God says, I will not enter my upper Jerusalem until you've entered the lower Jerusalem. And indeed, we are entering lower Jerusalem. We're building it up. We got still some work to be done. That's why we say, L'shana ba b'Yerushalayim habnuya. May next year we see Jerusalem totally built. And Rabbi Dr. Fraser, thank you very much for that thought. And may we really see the lower Jerusalem built and then bring it up to the upper Jerusalem and coming together. You're absolutely right. There's this holy stuff, but then there's great restaurants as well. And there's also the great organizations today, Jerusalem55.org, that are building Jerusalem in various ways. We've heard some of them. May we continue to be blessed to see them thrive and to see our city thrive. And you said that you're a Jew living in the diaspora. Yes, but we all pray towards Jerusalem. And we get strength from praying towards Jerusalem. It sends us strength, and we give it strength today.
Amen, amen. Thank you. Yom Yerushalayim Sameach.
Yom Yerushalayim Sameach, Rabbi. That's Rabbi Dr. Ezra Fraser. Toda Rabba. And here is Issachar Dror singing Mashiach Yavo, May the Messiah come. It's a happy song and gives us strength. Here we go. Let's ask everybody together, Shemashiach Yavo, may Mashiach come soon.
טוב שיהיה, נחיה ונראה ביום שמשיח יבוא. כמה טוב שיהיה, מי לא מחכה ליום שמשיח יבוא. ונצא מגלות של אלפי שנים, זה יהיה לנו כמו בחלום, כי במשך דורות התפללנו על זאת בכל יום. שמשיח יבוא, משיח יבוא היום, יבוא היום, יבוא, משיח יבוא היום, יבוא, יבוא היום, משיח יבוא היום, היום, כן עוד הוא יבוא היום. כמה טוב שיהיה, נחיה ונראה ביום שמשיח יבוא. כמה טוב שיהיה, מי לא מחכה ליום שמשיח יבוא. ונצא מגלות של אלפי שנים, זה יהיה לנו כמו בחלום, כי במשך דורות התפללנו על זאת בכל יום. שמשיח יבוא, משיח יבוא היום, יבוא היום, יבוא, משיח יבוא היום, יבוא, יבוא היום, משיח יבוא היום, היום, כן עוד הוא יבוא היום. ונצא מגלות של אלפי שנים, זה יהיה לנו כמו בחלום, כי במשך דורות התפללנו על זאת בכל יום. שמשיח יבוא, משיח יבוא היום, יבוא היום, יבוא, משיח יבוא היום, יבוא, יבוא היום, משיח יבוא היום, היום, כן עוד הוא יבוא היום.
The work of the World Zionist Organization has been essential for inspiring younger generations to develop a love of Israel, as well as helping those young people overcome the deafening roar of anti-Semitism so prevalent today. Yaakov Haguel, chairman of the World Zionist Organization, has continued the WZO's 125-year legacy by promoting a strong voice for Israel across the world and advocating for its future.
חברים יקרים, שלום לכם, מירושלים, בירתה הנצחית של העם היהודי. מאז ומעולם הייתה ירושלים מרכזיותה של העם היהודי. הסבים והסבתות שלנו, משך מאות דורות, נשאו את עיניהם לירושלים, התפללו לכיוונה, ביקשו למענה וסיכמו מדי ערב פסח לשנה הבאה בירושלים הבנויה. לפני כשבועיים חגגנו 74 שנים לעצמאותה של מדינת ישראל. 74 שנים של עוצמה ושל אחדות, של שיבה לארץ האבות ושל תחייה מחדש של האומה שלנו. עם זאת, משך 19 שנים מאז הקמתה נותרה מדינת ישראל עם גוף אך ללא נפש. היא מלוכה, אך ללא כתר. בשנת 1967, במעשה ניסים, דרכה כף רגלו של החייל היהודי בעיר העתיקה בירושלים. בהתרגשות עד אין קץ, ובגרון חנוק מדמעות, מחבקים חיילים ישראלים ספר תורה ביד אחת ונשק ביד השנייה. העיר העתיקה בירושלים שוחררה וחזרה לאחר 2000 שנות גלות לעם ישראל שנושל ממנה. חורבן של בית המקדש הביאו לגלות ארוכת שנים, רצופה ברדיפות, בניסיונות השמדה ובמציאות של עם חסר בית. בשנת 1967 אוחדה מחדש ירושלים. לראשונה הורשו יהודים להתפלל במקום ולהזיל דמעה, לבקש על משפחתם ועל עמם. ירושלים, חברון, יהודה ושומרון, רמת הגולן, קברי האבות והאימהות, מקום המקדש, כולם שוחררו ואוחדו במלחמה בת 6 ימים. מלחמה שבעקבותיה נעשה צדק היסטורי לעם היהודי תוך מתן פולחן תפילה לכלל הדתות, לא רק לנו. מה ירושלים בעבורנו? בעבור העם היהודי שחלם ופילל לשוב אליה. מתוך אינספור סיפורים אישיים ומכוננים, זכור לי היטב סיפורם של אנשי בית"ר, שבימים שלפני קום המדינה החליטו להקים מערך הגנה על תושבי הרובע היהודי והעיר העתיקה מפני המוסלמים ושלטון המנדט. צעירים חדורי אמונה שהקדישו את עצמם למען זכותם של היהודים לתקוע בשופר במוצאי יום הכיפורים, במקום הקדוש ביותר לעם היהודי, הכותל המערבי. לאחר איסור גורף מצד השלטונות הבריטים וטוענות של פגיעה ברגשות המוסלמים, מצליחים צעירי בית"ר להבריח שופר לרחבת הכותל המערבי ולתקוע בו, כאות לצאתו של היום הקדוש. תוך סיכון חיים ואהבה למסורת, תוך מסירות עד אין קץ ואמונה אמיתית בזכותנו, הטמיעו הצעירים את חותמם בעיר ותקעו בגאווה ברחבת הכותל המערבי. 55 שנים חלפו מאז אוחדה ירושלים. תפקידנו כבני העם היהודי גם פה בארץ וגם בתפוצות לשמר את הקשר הבלתי יערער לעיר הבירה הנצחית שלנו, לבקר בה, להתפלל בה ולהמשיך להעביר הלאה את הנאמנות שלנו אליה. אני קורא לכם, לכל עם ישראל בארץ ובתפוצות, להגיע ארצה, למרכזו של העולם, ליהנות מנופיה, משיריה ומסיפוריה של עיר הנצח של העם היהודי. יום ירושלים שמח, ועוד השנה בעזרת השם, כאן בירושלים.
And now coming live from Yerushalayim, from Jerusalem, on Jerusalem Day. What a celebration. We have somebody who's like, his very name is associated with Jerusalem. It's Rabbi Yehuda Glick. He's an American-born rabbi and former Knesset member for the Likud. And today he's also the president of the Shalom Yerushalayim Foundation, where he fights for Jewish human rights on the Temple Mount. Now, Rabbi Yehuda Glick, you have a deep connection to Yerushalayim, and I very much remember your Knesset office. And when people would come into your Knesset office, they first saw a giant, very bright picture of Jerusalem, of the Old City and the Temple Mount. And I also remember that in your offices, a lot of times, you had people who were not just the regular Jewish folks, but non-Jews from all over the world, including Turkey and other places. You were an expert at connecting people from the outside, non-Jewish people, the globe, to Yerushalayim. Tell me a little bit about that. Why is it important for non-Jews and friends of Israel from around the world to feel something today on Jerusalem Day, Yom Yerushalayim?
Shalom Yishai from Jerusalem. It's so exciting here. The streets are filled with people dancing. It's so exciting. But I'll get to your question. 55 years ago, one of the greatest miracles in the history of mankind, a baby nation, 19 years old, population of 2 million, surrounded by 200 million, who determined to erase it from the face of the earth. And what is this nation? This baby nation is not a baby nation. It is the topic of the bestseller of the world, the Bible. 3 million copies, 1,000 languages. The whole world is interested in it. And what is the topic of that book? This nation, this land, and the place that God chooses to rest his divine presence, to be a source of light to the entire world. 55 years ago, in a miraculous victory, we get from God this wonderful present, this diamond of the universe. We get it in our hands, and what are we supposed to do with it? We're supposed to turn it to a holy place, a source of prayer for all nations, a source of Torah, the word of God to all the nations. Unfortunately, we celebrate the great miracles, but I think God is telling us, guys, you neglected the place. The place, people are arguing, controversial. King of Jordan and the Palestinian Authority chairman, are the Jews allowed to pray there? And they're going to condemn Jews praying there. But throwing stones, nobody will condemn. Harassment and incitement, nobody will condemn. So we are allowing the music of violence and hatred on the mountain there, and we're controversial about prayer. The time has come, I think, Ishai, to change the music of the Temple Mount, to turn violence, no to hatred, yes to joy, to praise, to shalom, to peace, to the entire world, to be a source of light to the world. And this place should be a house of prayer for all nations. This is our mission. This is our responsibility. And when I say our, I'm referring to the government of Israel, but I'm also referring to the leadership of religions around the world. I'm talking to the leadership of the Islam. I'm talking to the leadership of the Christianity. I'm talking about leadership of all people around the world. Have to understand, this has to be a center of prayer. And that's exactly what the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation is involved in.
Rabbi Yehuda Glick, former Knesset member and president of Shalom Jerusalem Foundation, you are part of our campaign today called Jerusalem55.org. We're bringing beautiful organizations, many of them, over 30 of them, to the story of Jerusalem and bringing it international today. Tell me why people should support your foundation and be part of Jerusalem55.org.
First of all, I want to say that Jerusalem55.org is a fabulous project. It connects so many different projects that have to do with connecting to Jerusalem, but not only to the city geographically, but to the values that Israel is supposed to be to the world. When God says, I'm going to bless you, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, so that you should be a source of blessing to all the nations of the world. Source of blessing means a source of values. And all the wonderful projects are coming together, what's connecting them, the common denominator, is they're all beautiful values. We in Shalom Jerusalem Foundation, as I mentioned, we took upon ourselves to turn Temple Mount to become holy again, to change the music on Temple Mount, and to put Zion back into Zionism, and to bring Zionism back to become a global project, a global phenomenon, a global movement, so that all nations will be part of turning Temple Mount to a house of prayer for all nations and the source of light and blessing from Jerusalem to all those nations. And this is what the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation is calling for. Join the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation. Help us advocate the centrality of freedom of prayer on Temple Mount. Educate globally the concept of the centrality of the Temple Mount. Host tourists live and virtually on the Temple Mount, and make the preparations for turning Temple Mount to become holy again.
Rabbi Yehuda Glick, live from Jerusalem, thank you so much. And thank you for giving me that energy of Yerushalayim. And I'm sure you saw my mom on the Temple Mount this morning. So you guys are awesome. And lots of love from Brooklyn. Thank you for bringing Yerushalayim to the world. And thank you for channeling it through Jerusalem55.org. Chag Sameach, Rabbi Yehuda. Thank you.
Chag Sameach. Thank you so much.
Nissim Black. Such a beautiful city. You're a Kodesh.
Je t'ai quitté Jérusalem en pleurant. I left my tears on your stone, Jérusalem. Mais je sais, je reviendrai, je suis croyant. Je t'aime, oh Jérusalem. La gloire, tu la portes en toi. Mais toi, on te persécute. Jamais je ne t'oublierai. Tishkach, Yamini, tous ensemble, tous ensemble, tous on va arriver, on va danser, on va chanter de ta beauté, on s'extasie de ta beauté. Tous ensemble, tous ensemble, tous on va arriver, on va danser, on va chanter de ta beauté, on s'extasie de ta beauté. Shalom, salam, peace. De ta bonté on en parle. Comment? A beautiful reflection of your beauty, Zion. Tout ce monde qui marche dans tes rues, cette foule qui va enfler. Gloire, c'est ton nom. Toi qu'on envie. Jamais je ne t'oublierai. Tishkach, Yamini, tous ensemble, Jérusalem, je t'aime. Tous on va arriver, on va danser, on va chanter de ta beauté, on s'extasie de ta beauté.
That gold city, the king's crown, it shines bright. The free town, ain't a fire in a world like this, so we pray for the city with a fire on our lips. Yerushalayim, we see all the other lands truly need thee. Whether or not an embassy, sympathetic empathy will bring us to a greater peace. Cause we're the glory of the East. God's greatest gift runs deeper than the sea. Love and justice and truth we preach. Even on a shorthand, we still reach. Gold City. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, come on.
Tous ensemble,
Come on. Yeah.
tous ensemble, et tous on va vibrer, on va danser, on va chanter de ta
Such a holy place.
Avi Delavanti and Nissim Black. I asked permission to play the song on the Jerusalem55.org broadcast today because it's just an awesome song, and it's in French, it's in Hebrew, it's in rapping. It's just awesome, and it gives you the spirit of Yerushalayim. I got a little tear, I'll be honest with you. I felt it. I was dancing, I was crying, I felt it. That's Yerushalayim. Okay, it's an awesome, awesome thing to be part of this thing. And today on Jerusalem55.org, we're celebrating Yerushalayim, we're celebrating the past, building the future. Just two more organizations that I want to talk about. They're just my friends, and if I don't talk about them, I'll get in trouble. They're awesome. The Sovereignty Movement, led by Nadia Matar and Yehuda Katzover. The Sovereignty Movement is teaching about Jewish rights in the land of Israel, and really how this is our sovereign land, and we should feel sovereign in our land, how our government should feel stronger in our land. They're doing great, by the way, in terms of the fundraising. They're one of the top orgs here, so that's developing leadership, leading to sovereignty. They're working with youth. That's a great job. And also the other organization that I want to talk about is here. It's called TPS, Truth News Coverage of Israel. You know that there's an anti-Israel narrative out there. You know that there's biased news reporting. So they're doing a great job at giving you the truth. So check out these two organizations, Jerusalem55.org. It's just that easy. That's TPS, that's Sovereignty, and the other 30 organizations are beautiful. let's close out today's broadcast. First, let's hear from Dana. She's going to close it out from her end.
I'm truly honored to have been able to join all of you here at Jerusalem 55. I feel strongly about my Jewish heritage and my roots. Jerusalem also has a special place in my heart. I visited twice. First, when I was a young girl, when my family went to Israel to celebrate my older sister's bat mitzvah. I went again in college for a birthright trip. I have fond memories visiting Jerusalem's lively markets, strolling through its ancient streets, and praying at the Western Wall. I'm also the proud granddaughter of an Auschwitz concentration camp survivor. My grandfather, who I call my Papi, just turned 100 years old in March. He was born in Poland and was one of 9 siblings when the war broke out. Only he and 3 others survived. Those 3, 2 brothers and a sister, moved to Israel after the Holocaust. Their children and grandchildren, my Israeli cousins, are like brothers and sisters to me. We keep in touch and talk all the time, and I hope to reunite with them in Israel again soon. The Jewish people have faced unspeakable atrocities time and time again. The city of Jerusalem has given so many the hope and will to persevere. No matter how many times it was destroyed, Jerusalem and its people have vowed to rebuild. Today, more than ever, it is so important to share your love for your heritage as a part of this unbreakable chain. You can turn love into action by donating to the nonprofits that stand out and mean something to you. Happy Yom Yerushalayim.
All right, so I want to also thank all the folks that made this thing possible today. I myself am just like, there's like such a beautiful team around here. But before I thank everybody that made it happen, first I want to thank you, the person who's watched today, learned stuff, and also donated, made us stronger. If you didn't yet, go to Jerusalem55.org. There's still time. Make Yerushalayim stronger. Build it today. So thank you to the donors. Thank you to the partner organizations, those 30 organizations that indeed are building Jerusalem and are asking for our help today. We've mentioned them. They are beautiful. Go check them out. Check out their stories. There's real people behind them. Every single one of them is just a gem, and they're real people making a real difference. I also want to thank the musicians. First, we had Rafi Grady, who was the music director. We had Mordechai Salem, Issachar Dror, Shai Abramson from the IDF, and the young talent, Meir Rosinger. He did a great job. They're beautiful singers, and they gave us the spirit. Thanks to the partner organizations that actually came and made this event happen. That's Flow Motion Studios. Here I am in the Flow Motion Studios right now. The WZO, the World Zionist Organization, Cause Match, and Olam Shalem. They brought it all together. They envisioned this. And you know what? This is just year 1. Next year, it's going to be 10 times bigger. And the year after that, forget it. Jerusalem Day, Yom Yerushalayim is going global thanks to this great team. I also want to thank the folks in the control room who made the show not only good, but also fun. And that's Guy, Bracha, Yankee, Avram Shimon. Right there, I see Avram Shimon, John, and Andy, all in this team. And it's been a real pleasure to work with them. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks to my wife, Malka, for allowing me to miss Jerusalem Day in Jerusalem. She took the kids on the train to Yerushalayim and did the whole thing. And I was here in Brooklyn. But you know what? She's forgiving, and I thank you, Malka, for giving me the leeway. I want to thank God Almighty, Hashem, the creator of the world, who has fulfilled his promise to Abraham to ingather the exiles and his promise to King David to rebuild Jerusalem. We're living in the time where those promises are coming true. It's really a very moving thing. And if you believe in the Bible, well, it's coming to life. I guess Jerusalem is proof positive that there is a plan out there and gives hope that providence indeed makes historical justice. Now, what about after the program, after this broadcast? How are you going to keep that feeling going? How are we going to keep it going together? Well, Jerusalem is a dream, but it's also a reality. And so there are ways to keep that reality in our life. There are a few little ways that I recommend. For example, get a poster of Jerusalem. I actually bought a poster of Jerusalem today here in Crown Heights. Take a poster of Jerusalem or a picture that you took, blow it up, put it on your mantle, put it in your house. Let Jerusalem be part of your life. Another way to do it is to drink wine from the Jerusalem hills or a different product. Imbibe Israel, make it part of you, drink it, live with it, make it part of in your cells and in your life, in your fridge. If it's in your fridge, you probably really mean it. And of course, visit Jerusalem, and if you want to take some serious advice from me, try to buy some property. You'll make money and you'll be so happy because you'll have skin in the game of being part of Israel and Jerusalem. Fundraising continues on this platform until May 31st. And don't forget that you could also enter a raffle and maybe get lucky enough to fly to Jerusalem and see it for yourself, see it growing for yourself, and maybe, who knows, buy that property there, send the kid there, who knows what. Thank you for building Jerusalem today, and of course, we can't wait to see you together in Yerushalayim. Let's finish up with an awesome song, a prayer for the state of Israel and for the future of Jerusalem.
אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. ברך ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו, הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. ושלח אורך ועמיתך לראשיה שריה ליועציה ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך, ותקנם בעצה טובה אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. ואת אחינו כל בית ישראל פקודנה בכל ארצות פזוריהם, ותוליכם הרע קוממיות לציון עירך, ולירושלים משכן שמך. ככתוב בתורת משה עבדך, אם יהיה נידחך בקצה השמיים, משם יקבצך אדוני אלוהיך, ומשם ייקחך. והביאך אדוני אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר ירשו אבותיך, והיטיבך והרבך מאבותיך. ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, ולשמור את כל דברי תורתך, ושלח לנו מהרה בן דוד משיח צדקך, לפדות מחכי קץ ישועתך. הופע בהדר גאון עוזך, על כל יושבי תבל ארצך, ויאמר כל אשר נשמה ואפו, אדוני אלוהי ישראל מלך, ומלכותו בכל משלה. אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו